Hello and welcome to NARC Live on Wednesday the 7th of January 2026. Coming to you live from Norfolk on the east coast of England with Tammy M0TC.
Hello.
And me, Davey G7URP. It's lovely to be back. It's a month since we did this, believe it or not. So, on tonight's show, we learned the latest about the imminent DXpedition to Bouvet Island with Cezar VE3LYC. We share some of your news and Christmas pictures, and we find out, at least I hope we find out, what on earth this is, because this is the time to reveal to you, we've only done this once before in the last 5 years since we've been doing this, that we don't know what this is, and the person who sent us this picture of this tool does not know what it is either. So if you do know, well, we think it's a tool of some kind, isn't it? We've had two answers. But if you're looking at, yeah, it's easy, I know what that is, this is the time to let us know, either on Facebook or on BATC, and we will read your answer. This is your chance to shine. I'm not sure if either of the two people have responded are right or not. It's an intriguing thing, though, and I think a lot of us are engineers, aren't we? So have a look at that. Can you think what that could be used for? I keep thinking it's something to do with I better not say.
Don't give it away yet.
No, well, I don't know. It's just a theory. Anyway, we really don't know what this is. So since you've had about a month to answer it, if you know what that tool is or what it's for or what industry it was from, we would love to know, and so with the owner. Anyway, as I said, it's really nice to be back. And let's go through some of the things that are happening for the club news. So this is obviously our first meeting of this year. And next Wednesday, we're back to meeting at CNS School with our first in-person meeting for some weeks as well. Now, it was billed to be a sort of an informal evening, but if you saw the newsletter I sent out earlier today, I've had a bit of an idea to get the new year started. I don't know, I'm sure that some of you will have one of these radios. It's a Quansheng. Specifically, it's a UV K5-8. It's really quite low cost for what it is. I shall hold it up there. I mean, you might just know, and Tammy will go to the other camera and just have a closer look at it. So if you've got one of these, there's I think two variations of this. What's special about them is that there's lots of firmware being written for them. Lots of hacks, if you like. People from all over the globe have written various software. I know there's a French person, amateur, who's written some software to give it a spectrum display and all that sort of thing. So it's quite an open source radio, and there's lots for it. And it's about £25, something like that, for this radio. So if you have one of these radios and you've done any of those firmware upgrades, I'd love to hear from you. Or if you're someone who owns one, like me, but has not done any of those upgrades and not sure which one to do, because I think there's at least 20 or 30 different firmware upgrades to give it. You can wideband it, for example. You can make it listen to 10 meters and things like that, even though it's 270 as it's supplied. Then do drop me a line. And if there's enough people, and we only need 3 or 4 or 5 people who've got one of these and has done something like that with it, we'll run a little workshop that this coming Wednesday, a week from tonight, when we're at the school. Just an informal evening, comparing notes on that, both from those people who've done these sort of firmware hacks for this and those who are interested in it. I've only heard from one person so far who's got one but hasn't done any of these firmware upgrades. So we really would love to hear. I won't be running it though unless I hear from several people, because obviously it wouldn't work. So just drop me a quick email and say, I've got one of these, and whether you've done any upgrades or firmware changes or not. And let me know, and that may be what we do next week. Otherwise, it will just be a social informal. Other things that are coming up, well, as you know, New Year membership, which we started taking in the early November, but obviously it is due now, being the new year. And if you are or were a member in 2025, then you can rejoin our club for the wonderful sum of just £5. But you need to do it before the end of this month. So you've only got about just under 3 weeks to do it. You'll be able to do that at the club. If you come to a club meeting, you can pay £5 cash, or you can do it online via the bank and everything, as the newsletter's been saying. I don't want to drive everybody mad with it, but really we started this in early November, and now we are in the new year, so subs are now due, and it would really help us if you can pay fairly promptly now, because the reason we can do it for that price is because we've got lots of members basically, and we're trying to, it's the greatest way to reward all those members. But it does depend on obviously everybody hopefully rejoining as well.
Richard's just asked, is that little radio the same as the Bofang, which has been on the market for a few years
It
now?
isn't, I don't believe. There's something specific about this make, Quansheng, Quansheng. I think you won't see as many different bits of software. So Richard, thank you for your message. But no, I believe this is something fairly specific. The RSGB actually gave them away as a gift to new members who joined as well. And the reason that they picked it is because of these wonderful bits of firmware that people have written for it. I think it's just because it's been designed as an open source device. So it is this specifically, the UV K5-8 model that has these abilities. If you just Google that, you'll see how many bits of software are out there for it. Anyway, from membership on to this Saturday, when it's our first meeting with the Koblenz Sked. So we've got our friends in our twin city of Koblenz. Tammy's got a slide just to show that. That's this Saturday at 10 AM on 7.123 megahertz or close by, depending on any QRM. And there's a local talk-in on 145.250 as well. Please join in with that. Also, on Monday, there is our Monday Night Net. Now, it's got off to a bit of a slow start, really. Steve has kindly taken this on, Steve G3VA. I went on last Monday because I was able to, and there were only 3 others on there, Steve and 2 others. So it's a lot of you wanted a net, a regular net. We are a very large club, and so it would be nice to have a few more people on that. It's 7:30 on repeater GB3NB, and anybody could join. You don't even have to be a member of the club, of course. We don't own the airwaves, like nobody owns the airwaves. So please do join and support the Monday Night Net. Also, this Monday, there is a webinar in the Tonight at 8 series, which Tammy and I host for the RSGB, and it's on dipole basics with Steve K6OIK. So if you want to know a little bit more about dipoles, and after all, that's pretty much the basics of any aerial, the fundamentals really of any aerial, then you may be interested in that webinar. It's on Monday night from 8 PM, so you can still join the net for half an hour, or it will be recorded as well and you'll be able to watch it later if you don't want to watch it live. Now, members news, and I'm delighted to say that quite a few people have sent us pictures to share with us what their Christmases have been like. And we start with this, which I think brought a tear to my eye when I saw it anyway. This is Paul G3VPT, and this gives you an insight into his Christmas. Now, if you have a close look at that, maybe we should have answers on a postcard or emails as they would be now. I don't think that thing in your hand, Paul, is for that, but I'm not sure. What do you think, Tammy?
Don't think so, no. I think it's a screw top on the bottle anyway.
Oh, so the bottle opener thing wouldn't... Oh dear. I don't think any of those things are any good for that, are they?
No, I think there might well be a senior moment in progress there.
I think so. And Elizabeth has put a warning sign out, though, quite reasonably. So anyway, Paul, thanks for your great sport. Thanks for sending that to us. It was honestly sent to us voluntarily. This is not something we've hacked into his CCTV and seen him do that on Christmas Day. Next, we've heard from Mike M7TTT, who's been involved with a project called the Cane Tenor. In November, he made a thin cane for use in Tai Chi, also serving to tap a rhythm when one walks. This made him think, I wonder if I could build a cane antenna. So, being him, he did, and the Mark I featured a Quansheng type rubber duck inside it, but this does affect SWR. So the Mark II version has a Baofeng 15-inch whip, which can be exposed to the elements, so making it good on both 2 metre and 70 centimetre bands. He got a 5 and 9 report from Ian M7DVX on GB3NR from just outside Cromer, which from where he was at the time was 24.5 miles. So there we go. A cane tenor. I've not heard of that before. Thank you very much for sending us those, Mike. Just going to have a cup of tea. Thanks very much, by the way, for this mug. That was lovely. Very kind of you. You thought I could do with a mug to have in the studio, didn't you? It's a bit plain, to be honest, but
Yeah.
you know. Anyway, thanks a lot. Can't beat a cup of tea. Next, Steve G3 EVA sent us this wonderful picture of his dog Alfie and his double. Actually, Alfie is the one on the left hand.
Oh, is he? Oh, right, yeah.
that's
I wasn't
Santa.
sure.
No. It seems so long ago now when I looked at here. I don't know if you've still got snow at home, but ours disappeared overnight. Thank you very much for that, Steve.
I think there's still snow in lots of parts.
Yeah, probably in parts of Norfolk.
Of Norfolk, yep.
And still talking Christmas pictures, Colin M7OPB sent us this picture of his Hustler 5 at sunrise on a winter's morning. Colin says that he made his first contact with India VU2 DSI on 28 megs on the 1st of January. That is a lovely picture of the sky.
I think it highlights it with obviously the snow on the ground as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
Very
really
nice.
lovely.
Somewhere where there's not any snow. Next.
And when there isn't any snow. Yeah, that's now from one extreme to another. Martin G7 UGB has just literally today come back from a cruise. And amongst many countries I think that he cruised around, he went to Thailand. And these are some pictures that he shared with us.
There's a little video there. I think actually it's Vietnam, the one on the left.
Oh, is it?
And
okay.
that was one that he sent me and saying, I hope somebody didn't have to find a fault there.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see the caption for that. Oh, yes, that is, yes.
A bit crazy, isn't it?
It is.
I think these are ones from Thailand.
Oh, look at that. That is what, I mean, that just looks like too perfect a picture almost. That's exactly what you'd expect to see, isn't it?
It's the kind of thing you think would be typical for there, isn't it?
Mm. Really good.
We've got one more video, but I can't play the sound because I don't want to get kicked off.
Yeah, it's just that if we play sound with
I think
with
these were
copyrights,
lights
we
to
can't play them.
music. But they look really cool. All up in the sky. Amazing,
So
isn't it?
maybe they're those. What are the things you call at New Year's, which they throw with Chinese lanterns? Maybe
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
like those because
Like
they've fallen out of fashion a bit,
Yeah.
really, haven't they? Because
Yeah.
of the fire, I think, dangers of fire. But
Fires,
anyway,
yeah.
thank you, Martin, very much for sharing all those. So thanks to all of you for sharing some of your Christmas pictures. My sympathy still is with Paul, though, really. Yeah. Okay, Tammy, over to you for Little People for
Little
the new
People?
year.
Yep, here's Little People. So we had some snow. Have we had snow?
I think
had snow.
Our cats say yes.
Snow.
Ah,
Fake snow.
Fake snow. We didn't need
Polystyrene
fake
snow. Snowball fight.
Very good.
Did you have a snowball fight?
Well, you should know. Did we have a snowball fight?
No.
Oh, what you mean ever when we were our kids? You mean?
No, I meant like in the last day or two.
No, I haven't.
I went to North Horsham yesterday. They've had lots more snow there, and there's like snowmen sitting on the side of the road.
Really?
Yeah, there is
Oh, wow, I
in a
wonder if
couple
it's
of
all gone.
places. Yeah.
So miniature-calendar.com, they put a new picture up every day, and Tammy picks one for you every week. So lovely to hear so much news from you all. Always keep those coming for the next NARC Live. We'll be here with you in 2 weeks' time. Radio at dcpmicro.com. If you can get it to us by 3 o'clock or so on the afternoon of NARC Live, then we'll include it in that show. Now on to that mystery object where 4 weeks ago I showed you this and asked you, what on earth is this, or what on earth is it for? Have we heard anything firstly, Tammy?
There's been a couple of things on, I think. Hang on, let's have a look.
Okay. Oh, Mike M7TTT says, I think that's a tool for pulling Boy Scouts out of horses' hooves. Yep, I can see where you were there. Tom G6TOM, I'm going to think of everybody's call signs here. The Strowger exchanges had several tools like this. Oh, I see. Strowger exchanges were telephone exchanges.
Oh, okay.
There's a particular type, it was mechanical. So maybe that's it. Tom, can you elaborate and tell us what it was for then? Nice to hear from everybody else, by the way. John M20TWQ's put a note on there saying hello and just saying everybody else. Tom says those radios are being sold by AliExpress for under £15. Wow. Just a random comment there from Audit man, nipples on cables. Now, I have no idea what context to put that in or not, so maybe we shouldn't read that out.
I think that's the what on earth he's referring to.
Oh, I see, that's
Brian,
what it's for. It? Yes, okay. Isn't a condition. Okay. Yeah, you see, and Ralph says, well, I feel so sorry for Paul. VPT, cheap wine, tut, Paul, you can do better. Anyway, right, so do you know, and nobody else has given us an answer. Oh, look, Stuart, G4AFF, has said, is it a carpet tack remover? And then the two entries that we had by email. Steve, G3EVA, says, is this week's item an antique vintage hair straighteners? I think it might be a bit tongue-in-cheek.
Don't think so.
But this one, I wonder if this is it. This is from Bob, G6PWS, who often enters and says, is this from a cobbler's? It looks like, from the past, a shoe or boot button insertion tool, or maybe a bobbin remover for an old sewing machine. No. I just thought a shoe or button insertion tool. Anyway, we haven't, well, I don't know if that's true or not, because I should tell you that Martin, G7UGB, gave us that. And thank you for the picture, Martin. He was dying to know what it was for. He's had it lying around at home and has no idea. I don't know if that's helped you at all. Tom has actually come back and said, never worked on Strowger, but there were several in the BT stores. Adjusting relays, he says. Oh, well, that's great that you recognise it, Tom. Thank you for that. That might help Martin realise. I don't know, Martin, where you got it from, but anyway, so maybe that's helped you. It does seem that Tom really does recognise them. Mike GAEY says, is it ball link pliers? I'm not sure what that means. Anyway, we better not dwell on it too much longer. But thank you for your entries and your inspiration today. I hope it's helped you, Martin, figure out what on earth this was for. Now we're going to move on to our next one. We'll be revealing what this is in 2 weeks' time. But for now, this is what I'm going to say. What on earth is this? And particularly, what is it for? I can't say any more than that, but there is something specific about this. The person who sent us these pictures, yeah, that's all I can say really. So for the full marks, you'll have to tell us what it is and what it's for. Answers to radio@dcpmicro.com. Just under 2 weeks you've got to let us know. Be interesting to see what you make of that, because it's something I didn't know about this particular picture until I read what the person who sent us and said it was for. We're almost up to meeting our guest tonight, which is brilliant. But first, just to go over then what's happening over the next few days. So on Saturday, we've got the Koblenz Sked, as I said, at 10 o'clock on 7.123 megs with the Talking on 145.250. On Sunday, at 7 p.m, the GB2RS News on GB3NB. On Monday, the Monday Night Net with Steve, G3EVA. Do try and join that if you can, from 7:30, also on GB3NB. And next Wednesday, we're meeting at CNS, but don't forget to let us know if you've got one of these Quanshengs, especially if you've done something with it and done something with the firmware. Someone asked me to repeat what the number was, the model number, and I will do that. Tammy's pointing way, I need to read something here.
A thing on here from Richard Neal.
Okay.
Version 1 and 2 of the Quashquang use F4HWN V4.2 version 3 with a larger memory uses the V4.3 Fusion's firmware.
Oh, if this is used on version 1 and 2,
it will brick it.
Beware. Well, thank you for that hint, Richard. This is one of the reasons where I think I haven't done anything with it yet, because I don't want to brick it, that's for sure. I didn't realise that could happen. So we need to find out which version it is. Richard, if you know more about this and you've done it, maybe you could join us next Wednesday at the club at CNS as well, because this is what we're after, is some people there who've got some experience of it and can tell us which one to do. And that software, F4HWN, that is one of the French bits of software that I've seen was rather good. Anyway, do let me know if you know anything about this, or if you're interested in knowing more about this, and we'll have a little informal workshop next Wednesday. Drop us a line to radio@dcpmicro.com. I'm not going to say too much about the next one, because you will know, I'm sure, if you're interested in this sort of thing, that the DXpedition to Bouvet Island didn't really go as planned the last time it was attempted. But a team has regrouped and is going to be getting a go in just a few weeks' time, next month, in fact. And we're delighted that he's had the time to join us now to tell us more about that and bring us right up to date. It's welcome to Cezar VE3LYC. Hello, Cezar.
Hi, David. Hi, Ray. And thank you very much for having me, then through me, Team Bouvet 2026. We do appreciate that very much. And I'd like from the very beginning to thank the entire club for their very, very generous donation for this truly challenging project. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on and telling us about it. Yes, as you mentioned, and I did. We did go to all of our members last year to ask, but this is a DXpedition that we've supported with $250 to hopefully help you on your way. So, but we're really dying to find out what you're doing this time different to last time and how you think you can overcome the challenges which were significant last time. So I'm going to hand over to you now, Cezar. Not going to interrupt at all, but if you've got questions at home or comments or anything like that for Cezar, this would be a perfect time to ask, because actually Cezar earlier told me that this is probably the last presentation that there'll be anywhere, so you're going to get the very latest information now. But over to you, Cezar.
Thank you. Yes, this is true. As far as I know, well, who knows? There may be some last-minute changes, but so far, your group, you guys have, I guess, the thrill of being the last, to have the last presentation. So as you know, there are only 3 weeks until we have to group in to meet in Cape Town. The vessel is supposed to sail on February 1st, and I know the vessel will arrive on January 28th in Cape Town, and there's a bit of work to be done there. Hopefully we can do it in 3 days or so. I personally depart Kingston. I depart Canada on January 29. Arrive there on January 30, but there's quite a few guys who will be there earlier. Now, so by the way, if there are any questions, or there will be any questions regarding either this or the 3Y0J, the 2023 expedition, I'll be more than happy to go through them. I don't know if the setup is such that you can interrupt at any time, but if not, I will make this presentation, which is supposed to be roughly about half an hour. And then we can dive into any questions you may have. There's no need to be shy. Anything is I'll try to respond to the best of my abilities. So the tagline for the expedition in 2023 to Bouvet was, as you may recall, the most remote island on Earth. Well, we decided to change it now for the extreme adventure for the love of DX. So that's actually how I'm, with this in mind, let's move forward. Just, I'm not going to go blow by blow by everything that is on the screen. You will see it yourself. I'm just going to mention that the 3 largest inhabited areas that usually have the largest amount of the largest percentages in any DXpedition logs, North America, Europe, and Asia, Japan, are located roughly at around 8,000 to 2,000 to 10,000 miles. Well, that's kind of pretty far. So maybe this is why, with just a couple of radios running 100 watts and some wire antennas, we weren't quite able to do more than 19,000 contacts in the period of time that 3Y0J was active in 2023. About the island, just to refresh your memory from 2023, although I guess many of you may still have it relatively in there. The island is covered 93% by ice. It's a volcano that is covered almost completely by by glacier. And what makes it typically difficult for this location is that being surrounded by vast amounts of water, over which the winds are supposed to kind of fly, come from the west. But with the fact that it's within the Antarctic, the Antarctic, the circumantarctic water current, makes it that any wind blowing from Antarctica will bring very, very cold weather. And, the mixture between the winds blowing from any other direction, although primarily it's supposed to be from the west, but while we were in 23, they were from the northeast, they were from the northwest, they were from south. This changes very frequently, and this creates a difficulty in adapting to all these conditions. We'll see this a little bit further in this discussion. The highest peak is 780 meters. That's not of great concern for us. We're not going to go there. And other references are that other elements that I like to mention is that, just for your information, this is located. The island is located at the crossing of three tectonic plates, or very close by. And so every now and then, in geological terms, the massive earthquakes taking place when these plates slip by each other. And one of these earthquakes was, if I remember correctly, in 2007, and it had a magnitude of 7.4 or something. So it was about 50, 80 kilometers away from the island. Not going to hurt us, not going to hurt anybody, but it's kind of an interesting thing. It's obviously uninhabited. There are lots of fur seals, penguins, and numerous type of birds. Here are some of the photos taken in 2023. The penguin colony that you see on the top right was very close to our camp, probably about 50 meters, maybe 40, 60 meters, something like that. And the fur seals that you see on the lower right, photo, they were located quite far, maybe about I'd say about 6, maybe 800 meters, just right next to the shore. But based on the discussions we recently had, in 2025 actually, with the Norwegian Polar Institute scientists, their latest imagery, satellite imagery, indicates that the glacier may have receded a little bit. And so it is it is possible that the seals could have come closer to the place where we intended to have the camp. We'll see what that happens. We're not supposed to hurt them, so, we need to behave. This is the current team. The operators are, on the 4 rows on top. And the guys on the bottom row are some medical guys. There are different passengers, and they are some other people who will assist us. Berger and Peter are the guides. They are 2 experienced guys. They do this for a living. They assist, they accompany and help different expeditions into the Arctic and to the Antarctic, subantarctic waters. This is what they do all the time. Peter has been with us in 2023. It's been extremely useful, and we're very pleased that both of them join us. So we are well prepared. I'll talk about this a little bit later. So the vessel is an icebreaker. It has it has the capacity to carry actually a helicopter, and our intention is to eventually use the same vessel for PETA 1, and in which case they will install, they have what it takes, space, and to install a second helipad for the second helicopter, which would be mandatory for PETA 1. I'm going to mention more about this. It's a pretty big, you're talking about, a very, very large vessel. It's about 300 meters. So, it's a very big unit. And as for helicopter, we'll be using the services of Ultimate Aviation. This is a group out of Cape Town. They are specialized in all sorts of missions, vessel to shore. They work on all platforms. They assist. They have assisted crew to or scientists to land on Marion Island or other Island or Tristan da Cunha. So they are very experienced, generally speaking, with this type of work. They also have. They went to Antarctica for doing some work for the South African base there. So we are prepared with both these groups to do to go over all these challenges and to overcome the challenges of Bouvet. However, I don't think that we're going to fight Mother Nature. We have to find a time. We have to be patient and find the right time to get in, and then, of course, to get out. So the departure is February 1st, as I already mentioned. The return, if everything goes well, is supposed to be March 8th in Cape Town. And we'll have to do a little bit of work, reshuffling stuff, and prepare the container to move to be shipped to Houston, where it's going to be. Was going to stay for the next year until the Cape Town, until the PETA 1 project will come to life. The decision we have, just we have all the commitment from the vessel, and we discussed with a number of helicopter services for PETA 1 already. We've already made a lot of arrangements, but they were in the background. We haven't signed anything, and the decision on PETA 1 will be made on the way back from Bouvet. So it will depend if we are successful, which we hope we are, but we'll have to wait a little bit and see how that goes. Then we will make the decision and we'll announce it very quickly. We have to sign up the contracts for PETA 1 very timely if it is to happen in 2027. So one element that I'll mention from just looking at this slide is that the helicopter will be using AS-350B3. It's produced by Airbus, and Airbus helicopters, except the very latest and greatest model they have, which is not this one, are not provided with ice, with ice, with an ice heating system, So the helicopter cannot possibly fly in ice-prone conditions. So anything between, plus a couple of degrees, 2-3 degrees, plus or minus, it's doomed to probably, even if the weather otherwise is fine, the pilots are very doubtful they'll fly because we don't have a de-icing, and no other helicopter except the latest model of theirs have de-icing equipment. They have tested on the different model, one of the top models, the de-icing system, just FYI, for the last 2.5 years, and no commercial provision is available to have a de-icing system. So just to know that we need reasonable weather conditions to do anything. But the plan is to be around or on the island for up to 21 days. The route to Bouvet is supposed to be take about 8 days, and the voyage back about 7. That's for 15. So we should be there for approximately 3 weeks. Now, are we going to be on the island for 3 weeks? Probably not. But we still hope that we'll be on the island for more than 14 days. Now, could be 20, could be 18. But just keep in mind, we have to wait for the nature to give us a green light and say, well, you guys, you can get in. Then we will. Now, the project is a very, very high budget. As you probably recall, the 3Y0J at a cost of roughly $730,000 was the most expensive radio amateur project carried out at the time. Now, this kind of warps it by it's 2.5 times higher. The cost is 2.5 times higher, and it could have never been done, in my opinion, without a massive outside financing provided by an enthusiastic group of private group. So this private group requested us to be very to keep their privacy, to maintain their privacy, and it's part of our agreement. But we can tell you that we know at this time that only 2 of the 4 members of this group who actually went on SpaceX last May, if I remember correctly, or June, and were the first, astronauts, private astronauts, but or amateur astronauts, but they were, they had this, pleasure to be the first to do a circumpolar path. So there was the first crew that went over the 2 poles, and unfortunately the weather was not very good, and they couldn't see Bouvet. They weren't able to see Bouvet, but these are the kind of this is this group that has ability to finance pretty much half of the project, and the rest, as you know, has been. I think that the total contributions in donations that we receive from groups and individuals is at this time close to $300,000, of which almost half is not quite, but almost half is provided by NCDXF, and there are numerous other groups among which yourselves and numerous individuals. There are about 200 right now. There are 906 individual donors who contributed generously to this endeavor. On top of this, every single member of our group has committed $22,000, and what can I say? There's no guarantee that any of this will be reimbursed. So they sign up the agreement based on this. However, we hope that if we'll be successful, maybe something will maybe the community will help us a little bit. Apart from this, each member of the team is in charge of his own airfare to Cape Town, and obviously clothing, a sleeping bag, and all sorts of other elements that are important for camping on the island. But the group does provide obviously water and food and shelter and all sorts of other elements that are have to be the same across the board. Now, the previous operations are listed on the left side. And you see that almost 19,000 contacts have been made by 3Y0J. Not great, but we consider it a success because everybody returned back home without a scratch. And that's actually one of the most important goals for 3Y0K as well. So the huge difference between what has happened in 23 and what happens now is that we will be using this helicopter. We'll have this big vessel, And all of these operations that you see on the left-hand side were done except 1989 3Y0X, 3Y05, 3Y5X, which was another DXpedition. The rest of them were operations by people who had something to do with the Norwegian Polar Institute. That includes Chuck, who, the American astronaut, now Silent Key, who operated for quite some time there. He couldn't be extracted, and, he made a lot of contacts. But as you see, so he was there for, I think he made about 8,000 contacts. But yeah, it's still the expeditions that, we kind of hope that we'll bring a few, we'll take this Bouvet from the number 2. We took it from the number 2 to number 11 on the DXCC list in 2023. Then it went, now it's on number 10, and we really hope to take it below 20. We'll see how that works. So this is the map of Bouvet. The place of 3 Yankee 0J is going to be at Cape Phi on the southeast coast of the island, is the same place where 3Y0K, our expedition that will start in about 3 weeks, will land and will camp. The reason for this is because we do not have access, to the weather station grounds. The weather station grounds, the Norwegian Polar Institute weather station grounds, it's off limits. There are massive colonies of birds and other animals, penguins, and so on and so forth. And we're not allowed to fly over. We are restricted. We can't go there. So once you cannot go there, you can study the island, which we did. And the only place where there's any chance of overnighting, there's possibility to land somewhere else, but the chance of overnighting and eventually being for a while, camping for a while, it's at Cape Phi. This hasn't been done by us. It has been, a ton of hours and days weeks involved in this process, both in 2021, 2022, when we made a decision for 23, and both now, with friends and colleagues from the Norwegian Polar Institute. So it is a very, very well thought out place, and it is what it is. If we could get something better, we would, but unfortunately, this is the best place we have. Now, what happens here is that most of the winds come from northwest. Well, ideally, they should come from the west in this hemisphere, in this latitude, but they do come often from northwest or from northeast. So we are at this location somewhat sheltered from these winds. Unfortunately, we're absolutely open to the winds coming from Antarctica, and we did have an Antarctic spell in 2023, which brought us snow and ice and cold temperature, -5 during day, more at night. So this is possible. We are in the circumantarctic current. It's about 500 kilometers, about two sailing days north of this island. So the island is solidly within the circumantarctic current. So it is in frigid waters. That's, it is what it is. So the vessel would likely be able to anchor here, just off this Cape Phi. And if somehow we get one of those Antarctic spells, they will have to move away from it, and also maybe shelter in different locations depending on where the winds are coming from. So will that affect the helicopter drop-offs? Well, sure. But we have what it takes to be able. We have the pilots; they have experience, so we hope to be on the good side. So this is the location as it was in the photos on the left are the photos from 2023. You see the intended locations of the main camp and the camp that we kind of call it Camp North America. that's maybe to excite a little bit our North American friends and colleagues, but in reality, that location provides a little bit of a better takeoff on the upper bands, as we don't have these cliffs right in front of us. So we do intend to have a setup over there, and obviously we'll pay attention to all continents from any location, not just to North America from the North American location. That's probably misleading. This is why we don't like to call it Camp North America. I was just reading on this, but it's just the camp on the upper platform. So we have an upper camp and a lower camp. And based on the tests we've done in 2023, there's really not much of a difference in the propagation to North America or to any other places below 30 meters, below 20 and below, 20 meters and below, like 40, 30, 40, 81, 160. But it is a difference in the propagation, particularly to North America from the upper camp. So we can talk. The two platforms are probably more than 500 meters apart, but the actual camps were probably about 500 meters apart, and we intend to have different antennas located a little bit further away, maybe 600, maybe 650 meters apart, something in that range. There's some photos with the masts. We're going to bring a number of masts for different beams that we're going to have, and some other elements. A QO100 will be operated. It's not going to be from the start of the operation, and I don't think that many people in the end interested in this, but we'll definitely have it. We'll give it a go. And here's the equipment that ICOM, our premier sponsor, is providing. So we have lots of equipment from them. And we also, I have to stress that, I have to underline that there will be a phased approach to our build-up camp. So we will start with some delivery of some of this equipment, but in early phases. But most of the equipment will come in once we are set up, once everything is set up. So don't expect to hear from the very beginning us running all bands and modes. It's not going to happen. Also, we have a very strong support from ACOM. This is the equipment they are providing us with. And again, we will start with some of the 500s, and we'll move up as the camp develops. The intention is to be realistic, and I'll tell you a little bit more in a little bit later. So these are the laptops that will be used. They all have been configured. They're all part of they are in the container right now. They've been long shipped as we speak. They're in Las Palmas, and they're supposed to be on December 28th. The container is supposed to, no, the container is already in Cape Town. The vessel is supposed to arrive there. So the container is waiting for it. And the container will be, it's already been checked by customs, it will be directly uploaded as such on the vessel. And there are a few other a few other elements that we are purchasing that we actually mostly purchased, but they're still to be purchased in Cape Town. And they will be shipped and stored in different places on the vessel. It's a big place. We know exactly where this is going to go. We just had a meeting yesterday, a Zoom meeting yesterday with the people, with the vessel crew, with the captain and the first mate, and we know exactly where how things will handle. Just some images of 2023 of how the lower platform looked like. And obviously the photo on the left is when we got that WIMF of weather from Antarctica. It was we knew ahead of time that will come, but there's nothing we can do about it. And and on the right is outside of that weather, just to give you an idea how the setup is. The tent has right now we plan to have 5 tents looking almost like that at this location, and a lot of other antennas, and a bunch of a big tent like this on the upper location, and a few smaller tents. We received from one of the sponsors. The tents have made it to Antarctica and they have been used there, but they gave it to us in hope that we will install it and will be tested and so on and so forth. So those tents will be good to accommodate at sleep 3 people in each per tent. So and we can make it. We have 5 of them, so we plan to install at least 3 up, and one of these big tents for the operation. The meals. For those who don't know too much, the meals are all pretty much dehydrated food, so they're rations. I don't know about the UK military rations, but these was definitely better than the Canadian military rations, because I tested those up north and can't really stand them. Not sure how the guys can. So these are generally I'd say pretty tasty when you don't have anything else. We actually tasted them even on the vessel, on the yacht, when in 2023, and they're not that bad. And the good thing about them, you just have to heat some water, which gets very, very quickly, and maybe, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minutes, even under the cold temperature, with this little fuel tank. And then the water is poured in. The bag is sealed for left like that for no more than 5 minutes, and then you have a relatively good meal and a very consistent. It's good calorie, good energy. We have, I think, if I remember correctly, 12 or 14 types of meals. So there's something for everyone. Plenty of variety, let's say. We also have similar dehydrated food for breakfasts, and we'll combine them with a few other things. Not necessarily. I'm not going to talk much about it, but some oatmeal, some dry fruits, and some dry nuts and things like that. Inside the tents, we will have cots, and this is an example showing that we can fit in one of the sleeping tents 6 cots, but it's a little crowded. Probably it's not going to happen this way. We have, if I remember correctly, we have 12 cots, but we also have mattresses. We have air mattresses, which can be installed on the cots or directly on the floor of the tent. The floor of the tent is right on top of rock. This wasn't necessarily a big of a deal in 2023. What was a big deal then was that the mattresses were made. The surface of the mattress was made of some kind of a nylon thing, and it slipped very, very easily. It was just sliding down on the floor, and as the floor of the tent was perhaps inclined at, I don't know, maybe 3, maybe 5 degrees, not much, but enough. When we went to bed, we were kind of spread out over the surface of the tent, of the surface of the floor. But then in the morning, we only covered about maybe at most 70% of that surface. So we were just one on top of the other, and it wasn't necessarily that pleasant, particularly since, I'm kind of a small frame. Some other guys were pretty big. But now we also included as a contingency these cots, because, there's always a concern that we may get some water inside the tent, even by accident or just infiltration, and that the cots will definitely provide a better, will keep us away from any trouble. But again, somebody could use one or another or a combination of them. There's no shortage. Once we can install the tents, we should be good. And this is a little bit of the intention that I just mentioned to you earlier. Everything goes to Cape Town. We go to Bouvet. Things go well. On the way back, we decide, we firm in place, we sign the agreements for Peter 1. Then, if we do so, then we have to spend a couple of days, extra days in Cape Town, maybe 3 days. I will do so anyway, to rearrange, maybe get rid of some stuff, reshuffle the container, which will be shipped to Texas. Otherwise, we'll have to go back to, if we decide that there's no go, then it will go back to Norway. And then later on this map is indicated Falklands. I'm not so sure about that. I think that the latest and the greatest is that might be Punta Arenas, the place where the container will be shipped, and then the vessel will pick up in Punta Arenas. But again, this has not been decided whether it's Punta Arenas or Falklands. And go to Peter 1, and the rest will be for another project, for that project. This is a little bit of what we do to prepare ourselves for the risk, the hazards, the risk associated with them, and the emergency evacuation, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to read this. It's just to give you an idea that we are very serious about this. We looked in detail to all potential issues. We actually had worked with Spirit of Sydney, which is a group that provides. They have been many times in Antarctica. They do this for a living, accompanying large groups. To make sure that we haven't forgotten anything. We took everything in considerations. We've also consulted with Peter and Berger, our guides, and in setting all this up. Now, before I go further, I'd like to return a little bit to this particular place and mention that we do have a plan B. So if for one reason or another the helicopter cannot fly, maybe or the fly he can fly for a while, and we do some of the camp buildup, but at some point it just something happens and it can't. According to the helicopter group, to Ultimate Aviation, they sent us 2 pilots and 1 mechanic, and a lot of spares. So according to them, they have no doubt that they can fix pretty much anything. It will take them a little while, maybe 2-3 days, but they can fix anything that may be broken. I'm not really sure in detail what that means, but just in case we have a contingency, in case this can be done, then we will have to create, we will act on a plan B. So the plan B is very similar to what happened in 2023, in the sense that a group of guys will be landed by dinghy. And obviously, prior to that, we'll have to create some kind of a loop. And Peter and Berger will go and do that, and then a group will be landed, and they will. The difference between 2023 and 2026 is that group of people is going to be a group of people who are more of a muscle guys. They are more adept to the climate, to the rigors of this climate, and they will not operate the stations. They will just install the stations and then will keep them maintained. They will have them maintained. The operation will be done only in Plan B from the boat, from the vessel. So it will be a remote operation. So in other words, we will install equipment which we will access from the boat. So the team will remain on the boat, and the group of the guys who will go on shore will be just a small part of the team. And it is possible that depending on for how long they'll be there, that there may be some of them may have to be replaced and some others go, and so on and so forth. But the scope of the people on the island in case of Plan B is to install the equipment, obviously install the, build a little bit of camp, then install the equipment, install antennas, and keep them running. They wouldn't spend any time in operating any of them. So that's the scope of Plan B. But obviously, we do not want that. We think that it's not going to give us the success that we want and won't be very rewarding. We want to bring everyone everyone on the island. Now, what we've done originally, we had a phased approach. And this is what I'm telling you now. It's kind of the latest in our logistical, framework. We planned to have a phased approach, and based on this phased approach, we counted on developing the two camps, and there were a number of components considered essentials, primarily associated with food and shelter, and a minimum number of stations and antennas, and obviously cables and so on and so forth. And those essentials were supposed to have the first priority, obviously. And when we sat down, we had the listing of all these components and how we're going to, which one are going to go in which flight, and so on and so forth. Then we sat down with the helicopter people, and we reviewed the times, the refueling, and all sorts of conditions, how approximately how long it'll take them to fly passengers, what's going to happen, how we have to adapt how we have to change perhaps the inside of the cabin in order to transport something else, how the sling loads will be transported, and so on and so forth. And when we ended up this exercise, we came to the conclusion, could be a little bit of a variation, obviously a little bit of a leeway there, but our estimate was that it will take almost 10 hours, 9 hours and 40 minutes to be more precise, to bring all the essentials on the island. And that was deemed unacceptable because we're not going to have a time window of 10 hours. It's just not going to happen. Physically, it was deemed a physical impossibility. And so we had to go back to the drawing board to redesign how the camp will be built up, and how we'll extend the camp to the, from a platform to another, and how we're going to have to rephase the entire project to be able to be operational after 2 hours. After 2 hours. So if we only can get a time window of 2 hours where flights can be made, we still have to have a minimum of 3 stations on the air with minimum power, with 500 watts on the air. Antennas, we install the performant antennas later, but we need to have that. So with this in mind, the plan was the camp build-up plan was completely restructured, and we went through a number of iterations, which took pretty much all the month of December, end of November, December, and up to date. And now we are very, very close on finalizing that. We're supposed to finalize it by January 12th. Well, it's there, just some tiny little adjustments, and so then the entire team will have to pretty much own it. So this plan consists in dropping a number of people first. So everything will start with the reconnaissance flights. It will be three of our guys, they will include one guide among these three and two pilots. The pilots want to have the reconnaissance flight very, very light. It's not going to have a lot of, they would like to have the gas tank filled 50%. So they want the equipment to be very light, and the load be very light, so that they can get a feeling of, all the currents and air currents and how the maneuverability of the helicopter is in those conditions. Once the reconnaissance flight is done, it's not going to take long, because we already know where we're going. We've been there. It's the same place, Once the reconnaissance flight will land, we'll get back to, the guys hopefully will remain on the island, and the heli will return to the vessel, and then there will be a number of essential cargoes. A couple of essential cargoes, followed by another group of passengers, and then the tents. So the tents will have to be built up. The tents should start to be built up within an hour and 15 minutes from the first flight. So from the moment that the first flight, the reconnaissance flight, takes off, until the moments that the tents are on the island, it would be based on our estimate, about an hour and 15, an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and a half. And then once that thing comes in, we have the food, we have water, we have medications, we have all sorts of other essential provisions. And we have the shelter, and we start building the shelter. We start building the tents, and then more people come in, and other equipment comes in, and so on and so forth. And as I said, if we have to stop the flights, if the helicopter pilots decide to abort the mission for that day, but do 2 hours, and initially they told us they will not fly if there's not a time window of 2 hours, which should still have a minimum number of stations, so that we can get going, having something to do to operate both during daytime and nighttime, which means that we will have antennas for the low bands at night. Don't count on 160, for instance, because it's not going to happen right that quickly. But we will have low bands, we will have higher bands, and obviously, that night we should be able to get on the air with something. But there will not be the performance antennas, and not a lot of power. I mean, 500 watts and some wire antennas. That's probably what it's reasonable to happen for at least 24, 36 hours. And then we'll see how that goes. But the number of flights and number of passengers flights. So if for example everything goes according to our estimate, 4.5 hours. So if we have a time window of 4.5 hours, then all operators and all crew, all the rest of the team, the entire team, with quite a bit of flights, quite a bit of cargo flights, including flights that will bring equipment and other essentials to the on the upper camp, or the upper platform, can be carried out. So anything more than that, anything more than 4.5 hours would be a plus. But I think, to be cautious, I'm not sure. I think that the primary goal is to be able to have 13 people. 13 people will be virtually all operators within the first day, and be able to start running some stations and building the camps, building the bigger the more performant antennas, and start building the more performant antennas, and so on and so forth. We have no idea if the next window of opportunity will be next day, or it could be 3 days down the road, or 4 days down the road. The typical opportunity of a few hours, of 2-3 hours of a decent weather, happened every 3 days, approximately every 3 days in 2023. So, that's all we can say this time. But again, keep in mind, we should be on around Bouvet for 21 days. So yeah, we think that there are good conditions to be able to finalize the plan that we have in mind. And with this, I'm just going to mention some of the guys of the groups who and some of the sponsors. I put their logos. These are the guys who obviously contributed a little bit more, but it doesn't mean there are many others, and the website lists every single one of them and every single individual who I'm not going to mention, but there was, I mean, there were guys who donated a little bit more, the guys who donated a little bit less. They're all listed and, checked if they added, they have been maybe moved up or not in whatever, list and ranking is done there. We are extremely thankful to every single one of them. Every single one of them has our, not only our thanks, but they stimulated our imagination. They stimulated ours. We're not alone in this. We have we think that we have thousands of guys behind us, and that is important. So with this, I thank you very much, and I open up for any questions. Anything you want to ask, please ask. There's no restriction whatsoever. I have the blessing of our leadership group to address any questions that you may have.
There we go. There's an opportunity for you. And with so many, just about 3 weeks, is it, Cezar? I think away. That's
it's scaring. It's actually scaring. It's I can't believe. I mean, I actually have to. My wife told me this morning that, well, when do you intend to prepare your bags? So
yeah. So it becomes real, I guess, very real.
Oh, it's yeah. So it was a lot of work in the background, and sort of a desk type of work and computer work and this kind of stuff. But yeah, it is real. We actually have to leave.
All this planning and everything. So look, at home now, this is a fantastic opportunity, unique opportunity, I guess, to speak to one of the leaders of this DXpedition. It's been long anticipated, long awaited. You can ask anything you like. Just pop it onto BATC or onto Facebook, and we'll read as many as we can. Well, probably all of them. To Cezar, I'm sure he'll stay and take all the questions. So
absolutely.
You were involved with the last one, weren't you, in 2023?
Right, but in 2023, I acted more. I mean, I was one of the operators. I was one of the 8 guys of the 12 who, been in camping there and operating the stations. And I also had the pleasure to. Well, I decided to operate. It's not my forte, but I decided to operate equal shifts: 1/3 CW, 1/3 SSB, and 1/3 FT8. Of the 8 operators on the island, only 5 operated SSB and only 4 operated FT8. And so because we realized that there's a serious demand, everybody operated CW, by the way. But my role back then was mostly in, or only in, other than operating, my role was at home preparing the, we had a hazard and risk mitigation plan. It was not associated with a vessel. The yacht at the time, we had all those things covered by the crew, and will be the same now. And with the helicopter also by the crew, we'll do some training and with them and so on and so forth. And also I acted as the so-called, informally called the warehouse manager. So I was the person who was supposed to know where every single screwdriver or, I don't know, bolt of different size and type would be on the vessel. And the vessel was, that vessel, the yacht, was had many places where we put things. And it was kind of crazy when we decided to land because it was not how we originally planned it. And now we had to pick up some stuff from this drum, which was God knows where on the vessel, and from another drum, which was located in maybe one of the showers, and some other drum, which was underneath one of the bunks, and yeah. So and we had to do it in one evening, one night. Just the night before we landed, because the way things went, the original plan didn't work out, and we had to improvise something. So but now Ken, he's the leader of this of the expeditionary project. He asked me to be part of the leadership group, and so in various ways I was involved in many aspects. I would like to say all, but I don't know. But yeah, pretty much every single aspect of the logistical process, of the of the logistics of the build camp design, also in the hazard and risk assessment, and what I wasn't involved in putting together a manual. So for every topic that's part of the expedition plan, we wrote, different guys wrote different sections, but assembling it together was done by other guys. I've done that in 2023 for the manual at the time, and it's quite a bit of work. So I'm happy that somebody else volunteered to do that, and I didn't have to be involved in that as well. But yeah, so this is why you can ask pretty much anything. I'm sure that I don't have to ask anybody else for information, and I can provide you with. You're going to hear from the horse's mouth.
Great. Okay. Well, we're going to make a start. We've got several questions already for you, but don't leave it too long at home. If you have questions for Cezar, then please don't leave it too long before you ask them. So first question that came in was from Brian, M7SEY, who says, I'd like to know what logging systems they will be using.
Yeah, we'll be using N2NN.
Okay.
Okay.
And I guess that's
N2MM. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this would be a second question, but I'm just going to say it. In relation to that, we will not upload the log in real time. I mean, we will not have a real-time log because we think that it's usually very cloudy in the area, and we may have some problems in doing that. People will be, I don't know, maybe they won't be thrilled. So we will we will update the logs probably at least on a daily basis, but hopefully more often, maybe twice a day, 3 times a day. We'll see how it goes. If we only have a couple of stations, probably not worth it. But once we run, with lots of stations, then it would be worth doing it more often. And so we will.
Okay, thank you. Linked questions, really, so I'm going to read these next. They're not necessarily in the order that which they've come in. Tony G0MQG says, will the operating frequencies, bands, times, etc. be available on the DX cluster?
Absolutely, they will. And we will communicate them. I think that the operators will have the liberty to choose their frequencies, the head of operation of their shift in SSB and in CW. But as far as the FT8 is concerned, the same for RTTY, but as far as the FT8 is concerned, they will be ascribed ahead of time, and we are going to use, WSJT and so on and so forth, and we'll be out of the main, allocated frequencies for this mode, yeah. But they will be communicated ahead of time for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, well, this is a very similar question, but I will ask it anyway. Roger G3LDI has said, Cezar, are there any tentative operating schedules, or are you just going to play it as you find it? And you've already explained that sometimes it will be to do with how quickly you get some stations up. So will you be publishing a tentative schedule? of what you think you'll be operating?
Well, at first, for the first 2, 3 days, as we build up the camp, I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of time to, I'm sure that many of our guys would like to post different things, and you guys would like, I mean, not just you, but everyone would like to know more about this and that. But that, I think, will kind of cut into our time for other things. And, I don't want us to run like the chickens with the heads cut off. Everybody has to have a certain, we have specific tasks for specific people that have to be done. So somebody, one of us, I don't remember who he was, but it's important now, indicated that this is actually, it looks like a military operation the way we want to do it without us being part of the military. I'm not sure we'll execute it as well as the military would, but it has some of the rigor that type of activity typically is associated with. Okay, so I don't think that we'll be communicating much over the first 2, 3 days. It'll be just on the fly, take it or leave it. But once we get past once we are a little more set up, obviously we'll communicate through our pilots. Proper things. They will post it on our website. We will definitely have all sorts of communications with them. We'll have sat phones. I'm not sure how, the idea to set up Starlink from the beginning on the island rather than setting up tents or other things, it's not something that we'd likely do. But once we are set up, obviously we want to have, Starlink going, and we want to communicate, well, first of all, with our loved ones to tell them that everything is nice and good. But once the first stations will be QRV, and the pilots will confirm that, or will confirm that on a post on DX Summit, whatever, the family will also get the feeling that everything is okay. But, we're probably not going to be able to communicate with them in detail for the first 2, 3 days.
Yeah, of course. Understand.
So after that, yes, we will have, I'm not sure that we'll go as in much detail to say that, well, this is the schedule. Cezar operates, this band between this and that. But we'll look at the general idea is that if you can install, which is the plan, 2 antennas for the same band in different camps, then we should be able to operate at least some of the bands that have those, on which we have those capabilities in 2 modes. And that's the goal.
But of course, there's going to be lots of variables, and the weather.
But there are lots of variables. However, our head pilot or chief pilot or whatever the name is, he will have to post any information that we'll provide, in as far as how we see the openings and things like that. Maybe at some point we'll have to put something special for Western Europe, for Southern Europe, for other parts of the world. I mean, but we will.
I'm sure you will. Thank you. Ralph 2M0RHT says, how will you power the various stations?
So we have 8 AU30I, which are 3.3 kilowatt generators. The general idea was to use 2 stations on 1. And we also have 3 small 20 EU20i. They're all Hondas. So EU20i, I think they're 2.2 kilowatts. One of them is supposed to be allocated for a heating system in case we want to use it. There's no heating at this point in time. Well, not in the early stages. There's not going to be any heating system. But if the heating will be, that will be by, we use some kind of a radiator, and they will be on one of these units. The other small unit is supposed to be for in each camp for drilling and other type of activities. To set up all those beams on different towers, masts. Those will need to be we need to drill. The drilling in basalt is very, very difficult. We actually went and reviewed our drilling parameters from 2023, and we bought more appropriate tools if you want, and but that's the scope. So the scope is to use two of the small ones in the early stages to install the antennas and they're portable, they're easy to move around, and the third one kind of in standby for heating if needed. Only the so-called meet and greet, the tent will be heated, not the sleeping tent. The sleeping tents and the operation tents will not be heated. We don't think it's necessary, and well, that saves on the logistics because we don't have to bring other sources, and it's less danger for something to fire and get fired, So anyway, but in the early stages of the current plan, we may use a couple of small generators just on the two stations that we will bring with us from the very beginning. So yeah, as we can bring the bigger generators, then we replace the small generators, and we use the generators to go in their primary mission, which is to assist us in installing the masts, well, the antennas, if you want, and and then keep in mind we also in the perhaps heating, but also keep in mind that we're going to have once the tents are first set up. They're going to have to also be secured, and to secure them, we need to drill and grout anchors in the granite, in the basalt. So, yeah, the idea is that we can set up a tent relatively easy. We went through this process in Oslo, and yeah, it wasn't a super calm day. It was not as windy as it will be in Bouvet, but we managed to reduce this from about 2.5 hours after installing 5 tents and changing the procedure, improving the procedure. We've been able to install them in 20 minutes. So I said that if we can install the tent in 20 minutes in Oslo, we should be able to install it in about an hour and some on Bouvet.
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, I think some of this is summarised by Mike M7TTT with his question or comment. Really, he says, "Thank you, Cezar. A mega adventure and very tiring. I bet. I hope he says he hopes to get a QSO from that, and safe journeys in 7.3." That's Mike sends you that message.
Yes, and I thank him very, very much for his thoughts. Well, I also was in charge of kind of leading the vetting process. So we put in place a vetting process, which I don't think was quite the same in 2023. I was not part of it, but it wasn't. And so as part of the vetting process, which include everyone who did not sign up for this project by the time that I joined, and there were a number of guys who are unfortunately only I think 2 of them now on the team. The rest are no longer on the team. The vetting in my discussion on the vetting process, I started the meeting with every single future member of the expedition by saying that this is first and foremost a big adventure. And yes, and second is an adventure. And then number 3, yes, it has an amateur radio activity, but the goal is obviously the amateur radio activity, not the adventure. But unfortunately, we can get to the amateur radio activity until the adventure is dealt with. It's a wrong way to make a comparison, but I kind of want to, in a certain way, you can listen to a pianist, some piano player who is doing some phenomenal stuff. But in order for him to do that, he has to possess the technique. And it takes years and years and years to do that. So he can't put his heart into it until the technique is perfected, and you have it, and it works flawlessly. In a certain way, we have something that we love, and that's this hamming activity. And yeah, we'd like to operate. We'd like to bring joy on your faces, and yeah, you smile. But we have to deal first with the adventure, and unless that can be dealt with, this is why the results of the 2023 were somewhat limited. We dealt with the adventure the best we could under the circumstances, but the means at our disposition, were not that great. We didn't have that great means. I mean, we didn't have a helicopter, we didn't have a big vessel, we didn't have, yeah. So anyway.
Sure, okay. John GVPE says, is RITI operation planned?
The RITI operation is part of our toolbox, and we do intend to have an RTTY show. It's not going to be in the early stages, but it is definitely planned. So we will have some RTTY activity. Probably not this kind of all bands, all things. It's not going to happen. But we'll do some decent RTTY on some of the main bands, I guess. I don't know, maybe 15, 20 meters. They're still going to be the battle horses. So, yeah.
So look at the cluster.
And by the way, there will be community. We know that there's some guys interested. I don't know if there are that many, but for those who are, we do plan this kind of let's say, more, I don't know, I got the kind of special type of specialty things, which is now the RTTI, unfortunately. We will announce it well ahead of time. So it wouldn't be a surprise. It will be on our webpage. I'm sure that the pilots will receive the message from us. We know that we have to do it, and we will do it.
Okay, thank you. Malcolm G3PDH says, great talk. Will the width of the frequency split be controlled?
Okay. Now, you're probably the only guys who will receive a little bit of, let's say, will receive this information. So, because we haven't publicized it until now, and we intend to. I'm not sure exactly when this will happen. I still think there's some discussion on this. But here's the scope. We want to restrain we want the operators to maintain the split in CW within 20 kilohertz, if possible less. But we want also to restrain the SSB split. We don't want to crop over the entire band. We don't want to be just wild. But at the same time, maybe more important than this, and by the way, the operators have total control on how they're going to work, what technique they choose, whether they choose to jump or they choose to go slowly in frequency. And my choice is to move up in frequency very slowly, and maybe work a couple of stations on the same frequency, reasonably same frequency, and just move slightly. But other guys like to jump the frequency, just doing kind of random. Well, it's up to them. It's up to the operators. There's no constraint from the leadership. However, we do have a plan against the DQRM. And while this plan, I don't know if it should be announced. I think that we should announce it, because otherwise the guys may think that we are just crazy, and when acting in a way which is it's gonna take them a while to understand what we're trying to do. But the gist of it is that if the pilots inform us that there's serious DQRM, the operator will, and by the way, we have discussed this with all the operators, and we will continue to do that while on the vessel. And so we will turn into a simplex operation within the split. So in other words, if the split on CW is 20 kilohertz, let's say, and this will be obviously communicated so many times that I just can't believe that people would pick it up, then and there will be an announcement, when we're going to listen simplex, which means that we're somewhere within this 20 kilohertz split, we will be listening and operating and transmitting on the same frequency once or twice, and then we move. So whatever techniques the guys want to use, whether moving a little bit up or moving a little bit down, but they will be split. So that's something that we plan to do, that will be within the split. So this is something that we plan to do well ahead of time. We talk with all the team members, we get their feedback, and they're amenable to this idea. They think it's a good idea to have something planned, not just get there and then discuss an infinitum as to how we're going to deal with the DQRM. There's a hope, at least personally I hope, that with so much, with the power we have, with more powerful antennas, we're not going to be in a situation of 2023, at least except the first 2-3 days when, I don't know, maybe the power and antennas are not going to be that performant. So I hope, though, that, people will, again, perhaps DXCC should create a new award, DXCC DQRM, so that some people get credit for this DQRM, because as it stands, nobody gets credit for it, and it's something that makes absolutely no sense. At least if there would be an award, you can say, well, I DQRM for 20 minutes on this frequency, 3Y0K, and it's very rare, so I get my point. But it's so, insanely, I can't make sense why people will do that, because there's no... there's no, I really don't understand why they do it. But so number one, I think that because we're going to have a more powerful setup in terms of, antennas and powers, so, we have some amplifiers, the temptation will be to avoid this. They're probably not going to bother us. They're going to bother you. And so to deal with that, our top priority in how to would be to turn to a simplex within the split operation, so that we're never going to transmit on the same frequency, right? Like then you can actually do it totally random, so you're never going to know whom you work ahead of time, and it's going to take a few seconds, and by then the QSO is done. Will it work? Well, we'll have to see. If not, we're going to plan something different. But that's what we have in mind.
Lovely. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Coming towards the end of our questions now. If you've been putting off asking a question of Cezar before now, then do write them soon. Steve G3VA has got 2 questions for you. One part of it, do you have a suitable beach close by for landing a rib or Zodiac if the helicopter can't fly? And the second part of it is, I'm not sure if you've mentioned this or not, what power will you be transmitting once you're fully set up?
So as I mentioned with the ICOMs, we have a number of ICOMs that are, well, a number of ACOMs, so all the amplifiers are ACOM. A number of them are 500 watts, but we also have 1500, and we have a couple of 2000. So well, we'll have to see. We don't think that with the beams, we really need to run 1500 watts, but we may be able to run 1000. So I don't think that, and with 500, well, we will run 500. So I think that as far as the FT8 is concerned, we can probably run within some decent windows. Just 100 watts, I think, will be, my opinion, will be plenty of resources there. But if we need, we can up that. We can move that up. We can use a little more power, and if we are to operate, more streams, then we can easily go 500 watts. I don't think we're going to use a kilowatt on FT8. If we need a kilowatt on FT8. Well, we certainly need a kilowatt in something else, and like SSB and CW, so why not use it there? So the power is going to vary. As a matter of fact, it will be every shift will have one person in charge of making sure that all operators know what power they'll be using on their setups. So we're not going to let this free. It will be not controlled, but it will be pre-established for every shift, depending on the results obtained, the stats, and so on and so forth. So it will evolve. When I say that we will likely start with 100 watts FT8 and 500 watts on CW SSB. That this is how the first setups will be, and then as we move up and as we install, if we get all our amplifiers there, we still don't think that it's worthwhile running 1500 watts all the time just because we have 1500 watts. If we can, who knows, we may need to keep some of that petrol for heating or some other purposes. Yeah. So we need to be cautious, but the bottom line is that we have what we need, and I think that most of the stations, particularly the Yagis, would run 800 to 1,000 watts, and we plan to use all the power we can on 160 and 80 for sure.
Okay. What about the second part of his question, which was, do you have a suitable beach close by for landing a rib or Zodiac if the helicopter can't fly?
Right. So the beach is the same beach that we landed on in 2023. The beach is not bad, actually, as a matter of fact. But because of the configuration of the shore, there's a significant surf that forms, and that surf is, depending on other elements, the currents, the tide, the stormy weather, and so on and so forth. Of course, it can be more or less pronounced, but is there at all times. So therefore, the difficulty is that on one side of there's a portion of the beach, which is very well known by us for sure, that doesn't have rocks or anything that will, that you may hit. But because of the surf, the only way to land for sure is swimming. We can try to use the Zodiac, particularly with heavy loads, to land. But the determination whether we'll use the Zodiac for landing or the guides will install a loop, a D loop to be able to bring things on shore, that will have to be determined by them. So if they decide that they'll go with a D loop, then we will have to. They will have to land. They will have to install it. And then they'll have to bring the guys and all the equipment little by little. The guys will swim to the beach, and then they will throw on the line each equipment. They will pull the equipment. They will pull the lines, and they'll get it done. And then they'll carry it to the camp. Not going to be easy. If they can land the equipment by landing the dinghy directly on the beach, that will save them quite a bit of time. But the main difficulty, in my opinion, having done this landing before, it's not actually the landing, whether it's by dinghy or by swimming and pulling those things. The difficulty is bringing everything into the camp, because this is another, I don't know, maybe 600 meters, and it's all up the hill. And yeah, you can do it a couple of times, and then it gets tiring, And the other issue is that the generators, they are not 110 kilos like the ones we did not bring in 2023, because they are absolutely too heavy. But they're still about 50 plus kilos. So yeah, they can be carried by two guys. There's no question about it. But it's still uphill, so it will take some energy. It will take the breath away.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it can be done. It can be done. By the way, every single generator, it's inside a it's a heavier form of a dry bag. It's called a Hypalon bag, which Hypalon, it's a very, very thick. It's a rubbery material, much heavier than the polyurethane, and they're not going to get any water inside. They will be transported very, very well. It just requires manpower to muscle.
To lift them, to move them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they are the most sensitive. Everything else is in sealed drums, or, you know, the towers. Well, the masts, who cares? I mean, they're going to get salt, and eventually they're going to have a problem using them elsewhere. But, you know, it is what it is.
Okay. Mike G4DYC says, thanks, Cezar, for an informative talk. He wonders what preliminary operational checks have been done by close proximity of rigs, especially the IC7300, for example. Presumably many bandpass filters, etc.
Yes, we will have. Okay, so there's been a lot of tests done for these radios, both in Oslo and in the States, by different guys. In particular, Adrian Kilo Oscar 8 Sierra Charlie Alpha was in charge of this stuff, but Ken and the guys in Norway, they've done this test as well. Yes, we will have lots of filters and you know, everything else that's required, ferrites and stuff, and you name it. But the gist of it is that you know, we also hope that we'll have enough separation between the bands and antennas that we want to work in band, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we don't really know how that will work. We'll have to see and test. But again, obviously, we'll have to take it one by one. So one step at a time. You know, if we notice that using 1 kilowatt on two beams that are located roughly 500 meters away or 600 meters away, you know, on the same band, one in CW and one in SSB, is going to create some interference. Well, we're going to have to adjust the power or move the frequency a little bit and see which one is, you know, less affected. But yeah, so I'm in the big scheme of things, it is the least of my concerns, to tell you the truth. I remember that I operated in some of these, well, in some of my IOTA strips with IOTA expeditions on, you know, neighboring bands on vertical antennas located no more than 15 meters away from each other. One with 900 watts and the other with, like, for example, one would work on 15, the other one on 17 meters, and one would have 900 watts and the other one would operate with 500 watts. Yeah, was okay. Well, we put some we found the right frequencies where the actual frequencies, the right QRGs where I could have the minimum interference. We had some filters and, you know, it worked fine. I don't think we can blame anything on the interference, but we'll have a lot of filters to play with.
Okay. We're pretty much up. We've got one more question, and I had a question as well, and actually I can roll them into one, I think, just to ask you this. So Steve G3VA asks, excuse me, what lessons were learned from 2023? And I was going to ask you, how differently do you feel now about how well you obviously prepared for the 2023 one to how you feel right now?
Okay. Lessons. Well, perhaps the most important, well, and I'm not sure this is really known by the community that much, because we tried to write a number of articles after the 3Y0J. There was a certain distribution of who's going to write for whom and whatever. I think that I wrote the article for Radcom, and I also wrote an article. There were actually two articles. There was a large demand that I had from CQ Ham Radio, which is the Japanese magazine. And I wrote one for the Canadian magazine. But in short, I'm not sure how much we discussed about the crucial point. The entire logistics of 2023 is based on, of 2026 is based on the helicopter. If we don't have the helicopter, well, yeah, we have a contingency. But the main purpose, plan A, is to use the helicopter. Well, so this is the crux of our operation. This is the most crucial point of the 2026. Now, for 2023, the problem wasn't the landing itself, because we knew that with the yacht, we either land by the dinghy or we're going to have to install a D-loop and, a loop, and there's no other choice. And there were certain small variations and the different effort or whatever, but the crux of that operation was not this. We knew that this is going to be. The crux was that we planned to install a hoisting system. There was a mechanical system which was developed and tested in Norway, but we did not do that. And the reason we didn't do it, and this was a little bit of a, I guess, well, I was in the leadership group. I can't talk for them. It was their decision. See, the scope of this, we had this because we thought that we're not going to be able to go easily over the glacier. So from the beach, we thought of taking the tools. First of all, we deploy the hoisting system from the beach to the camp. And then from the beach to the camp, we bring everything through the hoisting system. Now, had we done that, well, we would have spent more time in the rain. It would have been, soaked and more miserable and this and that, but at least we would have stuck to the original plan. But we didn't. And not doing that, we exhausted everyone by having to carry everything by the sheer muscle. And then when the original plan was, when the plan upon the 8 people landing was that this is is just we just testing how this works, but we're going to go to bring more equipment, and it's just the initial test thing, right? When we already knew how to do it. We already had the know-how. Well, the problem was that, it's kind of heavy. Now, had we had installed the hoisting system, which would have taken longer for sure, then perhaps we wouldn't have raised these issues. And perhaps in the end, when the leadership decided to ask people whether they want to go home or stick around for another week, they would have stuck around for another week. And instead of being 6 to 6, we might have been, I don't know, 8 to 4, 10 to 2. I don't know. So I think it was something that influenced everything. Not installing that hoisting system, which was the collarbone of the entire operation. Without the hoisting system, we didn't think that we're going to be able to access the glacier and go above. But it turned out that the glacier wasn't really that big of a problem. And then the enthusiasm took over, and the inexperienced was part of it. And then we said, okay, forget about this hoisting system. Forget about all the effort and all the work, and let's, we were energetic, we were so enthusiastic. Let's do it, and we did it. But it took a toll, and then so that's a big issue. It's a very, very big issue. If the plan is based on something, you got to stick with it. So if our plan is based on the helicopter, we have to stick with this and go and abandon this plan and go with plan B, with the contingency, only when it's truly proven that we cannot use the helicopter. Something happens, something, unfortunate. We can might as well wait for it a little bit longer than attempt to carry those things and tire the guys, and then you ask them to stay there for 3 weeks. You're kidding me? They're not going to do that. So what other lessons are learned? The other issue that was very important, and it's a lesson learned, is that ideally you'd like to have people who are a bit younger, who are a little bit stronger, who have survival skills, and who have this mental fortitude to the more they beaten down physically, the more there's some grit that says, "Oh, come on! I mean, just going to take it one day at a time, and it's going to be fine." Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we didn't have that in 2023. We had some guys, and I guess some other guys kind of brushed off of the first guys, and they kind of, got into that. But there wasn't something that we targeted. We didn't, there was no, at least I was never asked, and I don't think others were. There wasn't. It was more of well, you have the finances to participate. Well, you're like a good guy, you're a good operator. You've done some other things. You've been in some other expeditions. Okay, you're good to go. This time, and so it happened that we asked the guys, we had a team doctor, there's Mike Jr., Alpha Bravo 5 Echo Bravo, and we asked he asked, I mean, not me, I mean, it wasn't part of this, but the leadership and him asked everyone to provide some medical background and, whatever, but people did whatever they did, and one of the guys, it turned out that he had a regular kidney stone was something that he annually had at least once or twice, and he ended up having one of these crises on the vessel, on the yacht, and well, scares the smithereens of the captain because the captain didn't know what to do. Now we were, landed already, and it was a difficult moment. Luckily, he managed to evacuate that kidney stone. But had we known that he has this, it's a chronic thing for him, which it was, then we wouldn't have taken him. I don't think he would have been signed up. He said, well, I'm sorry, buddy. I mean, it's just not going to happen. You can't go, right? So now what we try to do, we try to manage to tell everyone from the very beginning that this is an adventure, and that there's some minimum medical elements that have to be sort of checked out for the good, not just their own good, but for the good of the team. Because if something happens to one guy, God forbid, then the project is done. The boat has to return, and we're not going to be okay. This is, as I said, this is not really a military operation where you have to take that thing at any risk. And well, if a couple of guys pass away, well, if they die, they got shot, well, it's part of the. I guess it's part of the plan. This is not that kind of project, so we can do that, right? So we have been a lot more serious, in my opinion, about this adventure type thing, about checking on the people's condition and medical history and whatever associated with that, and then the plan, I think, has been worked. The build-up plan, the camp-up plan, has been very, very, very seriously scrutinized so that we don't miss any component that would be critical. Now, as I said, there was a plan originally for 3Y0J, and it had been abandoned. I think perhaps never discussed this with the leadership at the time. It wasn't my role. Perhaps because it looked too good. The reality looked too good. They had very good, nice weather on the landing, except that when we or they, I mean, the leadership, let's say that our team evaluated as being an exceptional day, wasn't exceptional at all because the hull was so high that the captain refused to open the aft where our dinghy, which is the only one capable to do seriously the job of landing those kind of weights and those kind of people that we had on the beach, they couldn't put it on water for 7 hours. And by the time that finally that could be done, the weather, we already passed through 7 seasons. So, we had the, yeah, so we have to stick with the plan. We have 2 guys who helped us build this plan, and they've been entrusted to help us to bring it to life. So once this plan has been thought out and has been thoroughly thought out, we got to stick with it. That's one lesson. The second lesson is the team had to be, well, somewhat vetted. I mean, we're not the Navy SEALs to have that kind of vetting, so it's okay. And and then make sure that we convey our plan, which was conveyed to both the vessel crew and the pilot and the pilots. And there's also a clear communication channel between them, so they coordinate appropriately. Why? Because I don't think that any of these guys, I mean, not that I think, I mean, I know for sure that none of these guys have ever been landing either passengers or cargo on Bouvet before. So, you know, there are unknowns. But the idea is that now we have crews that are, I guess, more professionals. Keep in mind, the vessel, the yacht that we went with in 2023 had room for 5 crew, and instead of 5 crew and 10 passengers. But because of the financials, we had to move, we had to go with 12 operators, so there was only room for 3 crew, of which one is a cook. Well, she was a good lady, but, you know, yeah, it's just 3. And so it was our guide who acted as the 4th. But the yacht itself was meant to have 5 crew. So we had to play around with, I mean, I guess the leadership had to play around with some with the financials to ensure that everything is in place. And, you know, so yeah.
Well,
So these are some of the lessons, I guess. And you asked me how do I feel about this? Well, you know, for whatever's worth it, I feel good. I feel I didn't have any preconceived ideas previously in 23 because I thought that I knew that this is going to be adventurous. I didn't really knew what to expect, and I didn't originally I didn't want to join Bouvet 26 because I told Ken when he invited me first that I don't think that I can beat the thrill of 23 because, you know, swimming, I mean, I'm not going to swim. I'm not going to go again. And that is something just unbelievably cool. It's not fun, but it's thrilling. And it's a different type of feeling. So, you know, I kind of been there. I mean, I know the environment. I know what to expect, you know. But then he insisted and he told me that he needs this project to be a success because otherwise there's not going to be a Peter 1. And well, I kind of wanted Peter 1, and I realized that you know, if this group that helps us, the so-called private group that helps us with $800,000, which is it's a substantial amount of money, honestly. They want to put $1 million into Peter 1, but they won't now. But they won't put it unless, you know, they feel that we are successful in what we are doing, and they also feel good about it. So it's a double, it's a multiple goal type project where they want us to be convinced that we got it right and we know what we're doing, but at the same time they want to feel good about it. They want to have a nice adventure and so on and so forth. So this is why I decided in the end, okay, well, listen, I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, and I'm kind of older, you know, but if this guy thinks that he can contribute, might as well try my best. So for me, it is a known place. I've been there 10 times. I've only been there once, but it's enough. It's a lot more than not having been there. Sure. So I was able, together with the other guys who have been there, to convey to the others who haven't been there a little bit better what to expect than we have been conveyed at the time of our 23 expedition. So in a certain way, yes, I think that we are better prepared mentally. I think we're better prepared, let's say, yeah, from a logistical point of view, from the leadership point of view. So there are a lot of things that have been corrected, let's put it this way. But in the end, there's no question in my mind, this is an adventure, and we're not going to fight Mother Nature. This is just out of, it's not going to happen. No. So we have to be patient and to find our time to get in. If we try to force it, well, we may have some serious problems. And I think that my strategy would be to better wait a little bit. We have time. We never promised that we operate for 21 days. This is not something that you can just go and say, well, I'll be up at 8 a.m. UTC, 8 UTC, the station will start. No, you're kidding me? So nobody should expect. There's no expectation. There's never been any promise on this. People understand that. I think that most of the guys who are, well, obviously there are some naysayers, but most of the guys are reasonable. They understand. They have they've been in the guys in the DX community are usually, they have an experience. They've seen other expeditions. They know what's involved. They may not have done it, but it's okay. They still, they think on a wider scale, on a larger scale, and they understand all these ups and downs and everything that comes around, and we'll absolutely are determined to do the best we can, but I think that we need to take our time and not just jump and be happy, just enthusiastic, all this kind of
Sure.
20-year age kind of thing where life is eternal, and no.
Well, Cezar, it's been incredible to hear about your adventure that you're about to undertake. I think I speak for everybody when I say, firstly, I hope that you're all safe and well with it. Secondly, that it's a great adventure. And thirdly, for all of us, of course, we hope to work you on this, fantastic.
Right. One last comment from me, just to be to avoid any possible misunderstanding. While we are in charge of the radio operation, there's a link in the logistics which does not belong to us, and it's critical, and that is the pilot. It's between the pilot and the captain who decide in the end. It's this combination on what the vessel movements are, and how the weather is, and who decide. This is going to be a crucial point, and we have to be cognizant of the leadership and the team have to be cognizant of these issues, and make sure that we all agree fully, wholeheartedly, that if the pilot doesn't feel confident, then it would be unprofessional for him to act sort of cowboyish and just take unreasonable risks. We don't want that. I don't think that the community wants that, because any severe accident will result in the end of the expedition. Whether we hate it or not, whether we lose money or not, it's irrelevant. We can continue the expedition with somebody who may be saved just because we decide to keep it going rather than taking him as fast as we can to the first help. So with this, I thank you very, very much, guys. I wish to have all of you in the log. Call us. Don't be shy. We have some good operators. Tend to call up in the frequency. Try to find a spot that is not that crowded, and also try different tricks.
Well, you've given us some insights, I think, into some of your operating techniques and what you hope to do. So that's really given us a little bit of help. So, Cezar, best wishes to you and to all of your colleagues.
Thank you on behalf of the entire team. Thank you very much, guys, on behalf of the entire team. Thank you for having thank you for your support, and please trust that every single people we've communicated with, we made presentation to, or we don't know but they contributed. We know there are thousands and thousands of people out there. Some of them might have given up on some holidays, might have postponed going to work for a few hours or whatever. We do know all that, and we'll try to make the best, the best we can. This will be a tremendous effort, and we have to put some smiles on some faces. Well, whether it's going to be awkward at time, I don't know, but eventually you'll make it, and that's what it's going to be.
If all of your colleagues have the same passion and drive and enthusiasm that you have, I'm sure you're in for a wonderful adventure. Cezar, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There we are. Cezar VE3LYC. Thank you very much to him, and of course best wishes to him and all of his colleagues as well. So that's really going to be quite an adventure. So let's just have a quick look before we finish what's happening again this week. Saturday, it's the Geblendsked on 7.123 megahertz with a talking on 145.250. On Sunday, this at 7 p.m, that's the GB2RS News on repeater GB3MB. And on Monday, the Monday Night Net at 7:30, also on GB3MB. Give that a look. It'd be great to hear a few more voices on there. And also, Roger has reminded me as well that there's a CW Net at 8 p.m. on Mondays on 3543 megahertz. And then next Wednesday, we are meeting at CNS between 7 and 9:30. Please do let me know if you have one of these Quenshangs, and particularly because I've already had a few messages from people wanting to know more, but particularly if you've done it and if you've got a laptop that you can bring and show people how to program the software and everything else. And somebody mentioned that we might brick a radio. Well, we want to know how to identify which radios does what and that sort of thing. So please drop me a line. It does sound like to me that there's be enough people interested in this. So I hope that you'll let me know if you've done some of these modifications with this radio, and look forward to seeing many of you on Wednesday. And incidentally, 3 weeks tonight, we have a talk at CNS, and I mention it because it's on IOTA 2025 with Stuart, Andy and Chris. All went for their own little DXpedition, not quite as adventurous maybe as Bouvet, but it was good nevertheless, and full of adventure, and they'll be there to tell us in person what that was like in 3 weeks' time at CNS. But that's it for this week. Do keep in touch with your pictures and your stories and everything. And until Wednesday, or until 2 weeks tonight, from Tammy M0TC.
Bye-bye.
And from me, David G7URP, take care of yourselves. Look after each other. Bye-bye.